Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Nisimadev, Jaya Nisimadev, Jaya Nisimadev, Jaya Nisimadev. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you for coming. Hare Krishna. So we're reading today Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, the concluding chapter, verse number 23. Okay. Niyatam sangaraitam, Niyatam sangaraitam, Aragadveshataha kritam, Aragadveshataha kritam, Aragadveshataha kritam, apala pripsuna karma, apala pripsuna karma, yattat satvikam uchyate, yattat satvikam uchyate, niyatam sangaraitam, aragadveshata kritam, apala pripsuna karma, yattat satvikam uchyate. Bitte. Niyatam sangarahitam, Mataji. Yatam sangarayitam, aragadveshata kritam, apala pripsuna karma, yattat satvikam uchyate, niyatam sangarayitam, aragadveshata kritam, apala pripsuna karma, yattat satvikam uchyate, niyatam, regulated, sangarahitam, without attachment, aragadveshataha, without love or hatred, kritam, done, apala pripsuna, by one without desire for fruitive result, karma, action, yat, which, tat, that, satvikam, in the mode of goodness, uchyate, is called. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. That action which is regulated and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive results is said to be in the mode of goodness. Purport. Regulated occupational duties as prescribed in the scriptures in terms of the different orders and divisions of society, performed without attachment or proprietary rights, and therefore without any love or hatred, and performed in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of the Supreme, without self-satisfaction or self-gratification, are called actions in the mode of goodness. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Saganara Gunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shivisakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Yari Priye Ancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhe Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai, thank you again for coming. I found it a very interesting verse. I will repeat again the translation. So that action which is regulated and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive results is said to be in the mode of goodness. I've always, since the first time that I've read the Bhagavad Gita, I was always, I read it at the beginning, bits here and there, and I was always very fascinated by the number of times in which Krishna is always saying about attachment and happiness, distress, love or hate, I like, I don't like, equanimity, equipoised, and I was thinking like, okay, why is it repeating it so many times? It must be something really relevant, but it was very difficult for me to grasp it, especially at the beginning, where there were still a lot of things that is difficult to grasp. But that was quite a point, and it happened that in last Gita Jayanti, it was the last 22nd of December, we all met here. We were like 7-8 of us, and we read it, the whole Bhagavad Gita, and I just thought, okay, maybe this time I can really count how many times Krishna is saying it, and unfortunately I couldn't stay till the end because I had other services, but I stayed more or less until the 11th, 12th chapter, and until there I counted 15 times, and sometimes it's not so clear, okay, if it's really mentioned in that or just like in a very, let's say, taking it from another point of view, but I just counted the ones that were quite clear that he was referring to that, like to not be attached to happiness or distress. So 15 times in just the first 11 chapter is quite a number, I would say. This translation here, this verse gives another opportunity to really try to listen to what Krishna is really adamant to say, to communicate to Arjuna. And I was reading also the purport, and Prabhupada said that regulated occupational duties as prescribed in the scriptures in terms of the different orders and divisions of society, and when you do it without attachment and without self-gratification, and that are called actions in the mode of goodness. And then I thought, okay, here it seems quite easy. I mean, you have some duties because of course you are within the society. You just have to be, you have a different order, different. So you're born in a certain family, so some certain duties will come upon you, and you just perform that with some detachment and like without being too much involved into it. And this is already in the mode of goodness. So Krishna is also already telling you that this will condition you to be happy also. So I thought, okay, this seems like a very easy recipe for happiness. This and then how Prabhupada puts it, seems very straightforward. But then just meditating on it, I was thinking just how difficult it is, how the senses are made for the object of the senses, and it's so just hard not to get attached to it, and so I was trying to reflect. Okay, what is raga and dvesha? Just a few days ago, somebody in the chat asked this very question: why attachment and aversion are the same thing? It was more like, why happiness and distress are the same thing? So in this sense. So basically, why are the two sides of the coin, basically? And so this I would like to speak today about, because I found it very, it's something that always fascinates me. And so basically, what are attachment and aversion? Aversion is also said by Prabhupada hostility or enmity in other ways, and it's quite clear like what it feels for us, like when we reject something and we have an unpleasant, I would say, feeling about it. But attachment, I don't know, I feel that it needs a little bit more of thinking on that. And I would like to ask if there's somebody who has a if we could say somebody in a few words what attachment is for them. Do you have the microphone? Yeah. Yeah, he has a question. Oh, he has a answer.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I heard in this Vedic psychology, attachment is a memory of you used to find enjoyment in that thing. So you're attached to it. You still want to find enjoyment.
Very nice. Yeah. So basically a samskara, yeah, that is you get that it's present there, and you have this tendency of wanting to do it again. I remember when I was a kid, well, actually not so long ago, I was always into sports, and I thought, okay, if I would win a gold medal in the Olympics, I would be so happy. I mean, what would you want more than that in life? And then just recently, I was also thinking of this class, and I was thinking of the biggest attachment that one could get, or happiness in this world, and this came immediately in my mind. And then I thought, okay, imagine like somebody would win a gold medal, yeah, and he has a whole entourage behind him, or he has, of course, friends and relatives and everything, and then he is thinking the whole life about winning this gold medal, and finally gets it after so much tribulations, and then his best friend, maybe he didn't tell him, he had just a very the worst of the days, or like his parent died, or anything, and so while you're winning the gold medal, he is actually very morose, and he doesn't even come to you and compliment you and congratulate you for your great achievement. And so in the middle of the best happiness, just because you win finally this gold medal after so many years, then you would have this thought, okay, but why is he not complimenting me? Why is he not coming here? And some different thoughts would start to be in your head, and immediately this very sky-high happiness, so-called, then it's very much disturbed by these thoughts, and you could already see how flickering it is, this happiness that comes from external objects. And I thought how easy of an example it is for any kind of attachment that is related to some external achievement. I want to start, let's see if we have time, but I wanted to say what it is, attachment, how it affects us, so what are the obstacles that creates, and the solutions also, what to do with it. So what is this? In the second chapter, Srila Prabhupada makes a very synthesized, very concise definition of attachment, and it means, and he says that it means that you think that you can derive sense gratification from it, which I always find it very perfectly fitting and very concise. Like this is very very Prabhupada, yeah. And so I will repeat it again. It means that you think that you can derive sense gratification from that object of your attachment. Yeah? And I was thinking that not only that, when we associate with somebody or something, then we generally develop this inherent subtle qualities of the others. That's why we sadhu sangha is so important. Yeah, we associate with others, and then the qualities then are transferred between one another, not only qualities but also desires, and this happens not only with people but also with objects, inanimated, and what is transferred is more of the influence of the modes of nature. Like every object has its own combination of modes, and when you associate for longer time, then there is this transfer of influence. And last time, for example, that I went home in my hometown, I saw very much on me. I was spending 2-3 days with my family, and at the beginning I was like, okay, all this basically nonsense, the talking that I used to be interested in, it really doesn't affect me anymore. And then on the 3rd, 4th day, I really caught myself being like but this person in the village, I think it really shouldn't be behaving in this way. Yeah. So I thought I really catch myself gossiping in this need of gossiping about the world, or like news and this and that, and this material desire really came back to me, and it took me more than a week when I came back then to purify it again, or purify it for the moment being. But this I really could see these desires that they really transfer, and one should be very careful on it. And also at times it's very difficult to get rid of attachment, because they become part of our identity, and it changes the vision of that we have of the world. For example, let's say I'm in love with somebody, or I have a couple, I have a wife, or I have a fiancé, and I'm just going out on the streets, I'm having a walk, and then I look around and I see a shop, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this dress could be good for her, or maybe this other objects that I see in this other shop, oh, maybe this could be good at the home, and maybe she would like it, and this and that. So this makes us see how the vision, how I'm just walking through the street, and what I notice, comes to my perception, is something related to this lover. And this is the way how every kind of because I'm attached to this my fiancé, and that's how the whole different objects of our attachments are changing our vision and changing our perception of reality. And this is something that we can definitely perceive, and we as we practice Krishna consciousness, then we start to get more aware of that, and the very problems, like the obstacles of this raga and dvesha, so attachment and aversion, is that Shri Prala Lakshmi Simade Bhagavan ki. The very problem of raga and dvesha, so attachment and aversion, is that it really does not allow us to think of God. And when we are too much attached to matter, we're not able to think about God. And because if you look, I'm happy, I have my object of my sense gratification. Sometimes I get happy, and why do I need God? Maybe. If I come to the church and ask for the right things in a good way, then maybe I can enjoy even better. This also sometimes can be the motivation. And Prabhupada once said, it was very famously, that when we go to church and we ask for bread to God, you know it already, yeah? Yes. Prabhupada said when we ask for bread to God, that shows our love for bread and not our love for God. and this summarizes very briefly how whenever we approach God with motivation, it's always that we show to Krishna, okay, this is really what I like, this is what I want, is this motivations, this is really what I love, what I want to get closer to, what I want to connect to. It's more like of a business kind of trade. Yeah, I'm going to the shop. I ask the shop assistant, okay, I would like this and this and that, and then they provide to you, and then okay, there's been a nice exchange. I got what I want, and then okay, thank you. So that's what happens when we approach God with attachment, and as we said also, when we are full of attachments, then also try to get into try to think into spiritual matters, and it's also very difficult, like, because we as we said before, our perception of reality is different, so it's not distorted by the material attachments. So we project our understanding of the spiritual matters with our own material blurred vision, and this is also why Prabhupada is really it was very strong to not say to the in general to people to jump to the 10th canto of the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, because that's what is our tendency of projecting our own material attachments to whatever we get upon. And also there was back in the days, and the Shudras were forbidden actually to read the scriptures, and this is also for the same kind of reason, because they tend to be much more material attached, and then when they read scriptures, all kinds of motivations get inside their understanding, their interpretation, and it's just more disruptive. It's just sometimes it takes you even further away from Krishna than the opposite, because obviously of the offenses also. Another obstacle is that we may struggle with this attachment, and we may feel guilty also about it, and sometimes too much guilt makes us feel can also become our temptation somehow. And okay, I'm so fallen. I can't really approach God in the proper way, and have so many attachment, and you feel so guilty that you're like, okay, I just continue doing it because I cannot do much about it, and there's all these kind of different thoughts that come, and so this is also like what attachments bring to us. And I wanted to talk a bit about the solutions then, especially on the last point. These are all things that I taught but there are of course many others reasons why attachments, or like how attachment badly influences in our spiritual quest. Some solutions, it's especially for guilt. Guilt makes us much self-centered, because we always think, okay, there's always me, I am so fallen, I cannot really do much, and it's a bit of low self-esteem also involved into it. So true repentance is when it actually develops in us humility and not guilt. So Krishna in general really doesn't care about our shortcomings. He really just there for the devotion. He wouldn't have spoken the whole Bhagavad Gita if he wouldn't have this total compassion and forgiveness towards all living entities. And we read every morning, basically now in the past few chapters in the Nectar of Devotion, about the qualities of Krishna. And one of the qualities is he's the most forgiving person, the most compassionate person. So just think that that what we did, our sinful tendencies are way too much, and we cannot approach him anymore because of this beating ourselves. It's just some speculation from us, but there's nothing to do with this reality. Like as soon as we sincerely turn our way to Krishna, then he's always ready for accept our repentance. So guilt is only good to the extent that it helps us to go towards Krishna. So to have, okay, like I repent myself, I repent to this sinful activity that I have, and I want to go towards, to go towards Krishna and develop more conducive tendencies. Another point is that our suffering, though, is not because of our attachment but our suffering is because of detachment from Krishna. So it's not that when we see. So in the second chapter, there is an explanation of how the mode of passion. When we get attached to some object, then we have two possibilities, like either develop greed or anger. And so when the attachment to any kind of object is fulfilled, then we develop greed, and when it's not fulfilled, then we develop anger. So for example, I'm attached to, I find an apple, very red apple, very shiny, juicy, and I start meditating on this apple, like I'm doing now. I'm thinking of different qualities of this apple, and then attachment starts, And then you have two options. Either you fulfill your attachment, so you may get to, through your intelligence, you may get to this apple and you can enjoy it, so you can derive this sense gratification that we said, or you're not able to get into this apple because maybe it belongs to the tree of your neighbor, or some other reasons. And yeah, so when, as you said before, when you realize your attachment, so you fulfill your attachment, then you develop samskara, yeah? You develop a sinful tendency then out of that. And instead, when you don't, and that's how it develops greed then, so it will come back again to your consciousness. And instead, when you don't fulfill it, of course, it develops frustration that then leads to krodha, to anger. So yeah. So our suffering actually comes from merely from that, but mostly because we are without Krishna. We don't feel any solace. We don't feel any shelter in our bewilderment and in our unfulfilled attachment, and so we feel confusion and sense of alienation. And there is an example, like when a renunciate, for example, goes to someone's house, to some family house, and this grihasta, this family man, offers so opulent food, like a great feast, and the renunciate in this occasion shouldn't become delighted and shouldn't become like, oh, okay, wow, this is so opulent. Maybe if I would have also family, if I would have also like a caring wife and this and that, and then you start wishing to have this happiness again, yeah. But or also the opposite. Maybe the family man doesn't really offer much, and so instead of being pleased, he would curse the family man or anything. So yeah. So instead of being attached, one should be content for whatever comes, and by knowing well that this is what Krishna is providing to us, and there is a bigger reason why that we cannot perceive maybe in our own little situation, and so either it's coming, this situation, from Krishna, and we should be just happy and grateful for this, or it can be also a residue of our own past karma. There are many occasions that we can think of. Most of the time when we experience happiness, we want usually more of it, and instead when something quite bad happened to us, or like some miseries come, then we feel like, this time I really don't deserve it, and then it's difficult to have a very equipoised way of looking at things. But then if we think back of how many blessings we have had in the life, or many things that we have achieved, even materially, without really deserve it. I think of myself in university. I passed so many exams in which I was not prepared of, and somehow there were just the right questions that I could know, or just help from another person just before the exam, and the exact question has been coming there afterwards, like so many times. And I was actually happy in Krishna consciousness, because then I felt, wow, okay, then before I was just, grateful. I was like, well, that's luck. But now I finally had an object to which I could be grateful for. So that was actually a very, very nice thing. So So I want to say that destiny operates in both ways, so in a favorable and unfavorable way. But when we have this connection with Krishna, then we can try to see his hand behind it. Then the experience, then it becomes much different, and this attachment or aversion don't become so big in our consciousness, or like so influencing. And one last point that I wanted to make, which is, I think, or at least for me, what it really is the thing that I try to meditate the most, to get rid of this duality of raga and dvesha, attachment and aversion, love and hate. And I think it really helps to progressively get rid of that. Is that instead of having this mentality or approaching different things that comes to us with, okay, I like this ones, I don't like this one, I feel comfortable with this kind of things, or no, it's a bit too much for me, it's too troublesome, and then reject them. The way of thinking, or the parameter that I use to decide whether one thing I accept it or not should be more of, does Krishna would like this from me, or would he be pleased with that, or not? Would my spiritual master, which is a true representative of Krishna, will be happy with me, or not? And this I see that it really helps to try to get past this attachment, because you put your trust into the judgment of somebody who's perfect, and I see that it purifies. It makes you see that it's not that much of a huge deal to not having to follow your attachment, your desires all the time, and sometimes just let them pass, and not be too bothered about it. So that's more or less what I wanted to say today. Srila Prabhupada ki. I wanted to ask if you have some corrections, some doubts, if you would like to integrate on something, if you have, what is your idea with your attachment, and what is your relationship also with attachments. Better.
I have two thoughts. One is that in Śrīmad Bhagavatam, in the third canto, in the conversation between Kapila Dev and his mother Devahuti, there's one verse. In one sense, you could say it's there twice. Once Devahuti is saying it. In the Sanskrit, a part of it is different, a part is the same, but the translation basically means the same thing. And then Kapila Dev is saying the same thing later, is that like attachment for the material is the cause of our bondage, but the same kind of attachment, if you have it for a saintly person, a pure devotee, is the cause of your liberation. It is the door to liberation, as I said. So your last point,
Very nice.
It reminded me of that. And I heard that now Swayam Bhagavan Keshava Maharaj, back then as a brahmachari, he met one scholarly, it's probably a devotee whom he met, and that person said that this is the most important verse in Śrīmad Bhagavatam.
Oh, wow.
So
it's 29th chapter, or?
I don't remember.
329, and then...
We can look it up if you like. As I said, that verse is there twice in principle, but yeah, it's a very interesting thing, because it's so natural also that it's the nature of the marginal energy of a living entity to become attached to. We are in between things, so we have to hold on to something. It is our nature, so it is very natural to be attached. So that verse is just pointing out, just be attached in the right place or in the right direction. Yes. And the other thing is my practical experience, which is also confirmed by opinions of very, very senior devotees. My spiritual grandmaster, Jayadvaita Maharaj. Once I was allowed to spend little time, and so he had that opinion also that visiting the family, best is you just travel by and spend one evening or like a night. And my Pradakshaka Guru, he also said 3 days, not more. Because what you described is, I mean, it depends on where is your priority, but if you want to be strong in your spiritual life, you may find it unfavorable to spend too much time over there. So it's a sad thing, but what can we do about it? Ultimately, if we become caught up with our background and if there are people who are not interested in spiritual life, who are not so, let's say, dedicated, then we will become degraded by that. And ultimately, then what can we do for them also? We'll just fall back into the swamp and sink down with them. So it's better to maintain one's strong spiritual focus and then meet them once in a while. You give prasadam, you give goodness, you give actually beneficial association. Yeah. So I remembered those two things.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Sure. Any other comments, questions, doubts, correction?
So Shireen Mataji is asking,
Hare
thank
Krishna.
you for such a helpful lecture. How do I grasp the concept that objects also have modes of nature, and how do I determine which object has which mode of nature?
Well, that's a good question. What comes to my mind is that every object has somebody, as a person that has manufactured it or has been in contact with this object. So we can think of a very easy example of the food, and we can definitely perceive this that food has different kind of modes. We could see if there's there are some artificial means in which the vegetables or the fruits have been grown with. The soil also, like the way it has been nurtured, are with artificial means. If one develop some sensitivity, then it becomes quite clear that there is much difference, like in when there is a biological or a very simple way of growing plants and fruits or not. So and like that also everything, like the cell phone, if we take or many other things that are produced from society and that are meant for mass diffusion. We could definitely see that they mostly on the modes of passion, and they are meant for giving you very quick results and to get you also attached. So I would say that I would see based on the results or like what kind of, where I would observe myself using this object or like interacting with this object, and to see what kind of symptoms I develop, and also the symptoms itself, and the purposes, the intention behind the manufacture or like the coming into being of the object. What was the second question? I think more or less I touched upon it. Surely. In the 14th chapter, the three modes of material nature are described. Still, it needs quite a lot of meditation upon it, like to really then be able to grasp how to see different modes of material nature. Also, the examples help much. So, in for example, 17th chapter, the divisions of faith, there are different types of austerity, for example, in the mode of on the three modes, faith in the three modes. Also, here in the 18th chapter, like we're just starting action in the three modes, determination. Then there is in the three modes. So one start to get a feeling when he reads a lot about it, and of course through experience. I would say one try to be conscious. Yeah. Do you have anything to add? Something to add, maybe, on the question? I hope that's it's good. In case you, please send me a message if I could be of any. Yeah.
If it's bitter at the beginning, it can be the mode of goodness.
Right.
So this is one way, and it's just sweet in the beginning. Maybe it's passion, and then turns bitter. And if it's just cruddy, maybe it's bitter. Then probably also just in the mode of ignorance.
Nice. Yeah. So what you just mentioned is it's going to be in the next verses is the happiness in the three modes. Yeah. And this is definitely like the way how we interact with the object of the sense, what it gives to us. Then we can already get a feeling. Okay, maybe this by knowing. So also it's important to read scriptures and to the more we know the message of Shri Krishna, the more also we are able to recognize these different modes, as you said. Yeah. Thank you. That's a good point. Yeah.
Once I heard a lecture of your spiritual master, actually, a record, and it was a lecture he gave in one Ayurvedic center. It was a kind of, I don't know if I can call it bridge preaching, but to me it sounded like they're not practicing devotees, they're not familiar. So he spoke about the three modes, and he spoke about cultivating goodness, and he mentioned the Bhagavatam verse, which I thought about recently, so I noted it, and it's Canto 11, chapter 13, verse 4, and it mentions 10 things, and those one should be able to qualify which mode they are in, and if one concerning those 10 things is careful and considerate, then one can systematically develop the mode of goodness.
Interesting.
And I can read the list of 10 things once.
Yeah, please.
It's what is the religious scripture, like the quality of religious scripture, and your spiritual master, he mentioned Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam specifically. Then water, what is the quality of water? Then association with people, the place one stays, the time, the activities. Here it says birth, meditation, so what do we think about? With mantras, chanting, which mantras do we chant? And purificatory rituals.
Purificatory what?
Rituals.
Rituals?
Yes, so I think, I don't know what this means in detail, the Sanskrit word is samskara. So what kind of rituals we perform. So those 10 things one can see, is it goodness, passion or ignorance?
Nice.
That's a systematic approach to that.
Nice. And you mean especially take care that you try to associate yourself in the mode of goodness with these 10 aspects, then you gradually raise your consciousness. Is that what you meant?
I suppose. It would make sense.
Yeah.
Like if you, for me, are very obvious.
Yeah.
If you drink dirty water or water with some bad substance, then it's bad for you. If you have clean water, it's very nice. And association with people also is very obvious.
Mm-hmm. So
Books.
Time.
10, 13, 4. No, 11, 13, 4.
So, cool. If there's nothing else, thank you very much for coming. Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Shri Pralad Lakshmi Nrisimhadeva Bhagavan ki, Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande.